Welcome, beautiful souls, to the I Care About You podcast, the podcast where we discuss our mental wellness, our path and purpose, and learning to understand ourselves and to tap into our wise and ever-deepening inner knowledge in order to find fulfillment, happiness, and your true path. I'm your host, Juliana J., and in today's episode, we explore destiny and the inspiring metaphor from Carl Jung's psychology known as the Acorn Theory. The Acorn Theory is a soul-centered lens on understanding destiny. I'll also guide you through some journaling prompts and questions for thought that will help you connect deeply with your life's calling. Some people believe that the universe prewrites your destiny. Some people think that it is what you make it. In either case, your destiny is a living blend of your innate gifts, the paths that you choose, and the meaning that you build along the way. So let's talk about the Acorn Theory. Imagine a humble acorn. It contains the blueprint of a majestic oak. In The Soul's Code, James Hillman introduced the Acorn Theory, suggesting that each of us is born with a unique soul image or an inner blueprint, which is our acorn, and it carries our essence, character, and potential. Hillman's theory echoes Plato's myth of Ir, in which the soul select their destiny before birth, a myth affirming that our soul holds knowledge of its purpose prior to entering our body. This idea has deep roots across many cultures, the Kabbalah, Hinduism, Native American traditions, and more, pointing to a shared understanding that our destiny comes from within, not from our genes or conditioning alone. Now, this is really expressed in so many different ideologies, dogmas, thoughts, and many people have all different kinds of views, myself included. There is an element or a route that we come down knowing what our destiny is, and our time here on earth is to work towards more enlightenment, to remember why we came here, and to work with that to better our inner soul, which returns to the earth for these lessons when it decides or it's called upon. Some people believe that there are lots of guiding spirits or spirit guides that are helping you on your path here on earth to do what you need to do, to fulfill what you came here to do. And a lot of people, like myself, believe in numerous different parts of varying philosophy or dogma, and we've sort of come to our own terms as to what we think we're doing here on this planet and why. And I just want to bring that up because I want to plant the seed for you that you don't have to pick one dogma and stay inside that box of what they're saying. You can explore other thoughts, you can explore other beliefs, and other research and findings and thoughts, and come up with your own version of what destiny, your path, your journey means to you. And oftentimes when you do that, you feel really connected to the process that's unfolding, which it is a process of finding your destiny and then going on your journey. It's a process that lasts your lifetime. So it's worth putting some time and energy into. So why the Acorn Theory matters. Hillman invited us to grow down, to root ourselves into life by discovering and living our soul's blueprint, not merely to adapt outwardly to society and what's around us in the moment. He challenges the traditional nature versus nurture narrative, arguing that our true calling emerges from an innate pattern, despite parental or societal expectations. Pathology isn't the default explanation for individuality. Rather, what feels like awkwardness, obsession, or even crisis may actually be your inner blueprint striving to emerge, a signal from your acorn trying to sprout. Hillman believed living out our acorn helps fill the vast sense of emptiness in modern culture and all the things that our modern day living leaves unaddressed. Our destinies aren't fate. They are soulful imperatives we co-create when we pay attention to the signs within our lives. I think this is so true and has been true for me. There are a lot of things in my life that were not fun, but they helped me really identify who I was. And in doing that work with myself, my inner self, was co-creating what I wanted my life to become and what I thought my purpose, my reason for being here was, this podcast being one of them. And I learned to look for signs that I was going in the right direction, almost like when you are on an adventure and you have nothing but a compass, you have to look for certain signs like, how do I know where north is? How do I know what time of day it is? And you learn to kind of live using these signs that nature and the world presents to you, and to really tap into your inner knowing and that deep inner voice helping you and guiding you along the way, which I think in modern times we get too caught up in what's happening everywhere around us, and we forget that we do have answers inside of us already. We have a deep wisdom inside of us already, but we're not used to tapping into it and working with it. We're also not used to looking around our environment for signs and things that are telling us which way to go or what to do. We often in this society are taught that we push what we want. We go after what we need and we don't take no for an answer. And we climb this corporate ladder by just clawing our way up and we don't look around to see what's out there. And I think that that is something just modern living has brought up. Perhaps if we were living in a more sort of nomadic way, we might pay more attention to the signs around us and in our environment and to our own feelings to have a deeper ability to tap into our inner wisdom than we do now. We're also conditioned in this society to think that we don't really know what we're talking about. We don't really have wisdom. We're not really smart. And if we think we're smart, we're arrogant. Thinking you're smart is a lot different from trusting your inner knowing. But suffice it to say that we have been pushed away from tapping into what we know to be a truth, to be true for us, and to more look at what society is telling us to be. I want to talk about a simple journaling exercise to reveal your acorn. Let's use journaling to connect to your soul's blueprint and deepen your sense of destiny. So, the first prompt I want to talk about is, which I use a lot in my personal life. It really helps me to just hone in on what am I really doing? Because oftentimes I get caught up in what I can't do, which I think it's a lot of social conditioning has happened, but also the fear of what if I can't do it for whatever reason, like money, family, commitments, expectations all come into play here. So ask yourself, when have I felt most myself, fully alive, lost in the moment? These flow states are clues to your acorn. Hillman emphasized that the soul's blueprint shows itself through things that you lose yourself in, not just tasks that you feel good at. So how many of you, myself included, have been in the work world? I was in kind of leadership roles there towards the end of my traditional career in administration. And I can do a lot of things really well. I was really good at a lot of things, but none of that brought me extreme amount of joy. It was more so recognition. But to just do something for myself, I often didn't get lost in those tasks. I didn't feel like I was ever really in a flow state. I was just doing them to the best of my ability, right? Ticking them off my list. But other things such as writing or DIYing things, I would be doing it for hours and hours until I realized, like, oh, I must be hungry. I should get something to eat. It's been 6 hours. It's recognizing, when have you felt most yourself, most fully alive, lost in a moment, in a flow state? And it could also be, when do you feel most yourself? Where are you? Who are you with? What are you wearing? What do you look like? How do you feel? Why do you feel that way? All those types of questions. And the second prompt, what themes, dreams, or longings have persisted since childhood? Hillman reminds us that the remnants of our acorn appear early, even in childhood obsessions or enduring curiosity. Revisit your past. What early dreams did you brush aside? Boy, is this so true. My child self knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life, but society pushed me in another direction. Beliefs pushed me in another direction. I always wanted to be a writer. I have a vivid memory, which I talked about before. I think I talk about it in my book, Reasons to Live, in that I had this vision. I can so picture exactly where I was and what I was about to do. I was about to do a self-portrait, and I was sitting in this sunspot in our living room looking out this window. It was a sliding glass door in the sun. And I was thinking, okay, how am I going to draw myself? Because, I'm going to be a writer. And I was really into Laura Ingalls Wilder at the time. I'm going to be a writer and an artist. And so, what would I look like if I was a writer and an artist? And a voice so clearly came to me and said, "You will be a writer, but not until you're in your 50s." And I remember being super disappointed about that because Laura Ingalls Wilder didn't wait to become a writer. I'm going to be a writer at 15. And that never materialized until I was in my 50s when a book offer came to me. Also, the same with being an artist. You're not good enough. Artists hear a lot of things like, you're not good enough, your art's not good enough, it's not sophisticated enough, you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to make any money, all these things that I then felt I had to let go of being an artist. I actually started out in it as an art major and switched to science because I was just so conditioned. That rhetoric about what you can and can't be, should and shouldn't be, what gives you money, what doesn't, where do where does there need to be more representation and why aren't you in that field? And it just it just sucks out all of what is your heart's desire and replaces it with what should you do and what box do you need to fit into and what are you capable of? And you're just so categorized when you graduate from high school or you go out into the work world, you become an adult, and everyone starts giving you all this advice that's really dream crushing, that is really a capitalist mentality of getting you in the workforce in a certain space so that you can do certain tasks, but not really ever taking into account what makes your heart sing. And the third prompt I want to talk about is what felt like a personal calling, even if it frightened or challenged you when you were younger. Often, our destiny speaks in whispers or resistance. That inner push, desperate fear, can illuminate your path. So think, what felt like a personal calling to you when you were younger? And this could even be in your 20s. It doesn't have to be as a child, 20s, 30s, whatever you can harken back to and think, what was my personal calling? Even if it frightened or challenged me. And that is usually your acorn speaking, asking to be watered. How do you bring your acorn into your daily life? Once you've journaled, you can reflect on a couple more questions. So here's some reflection questions you might ask yourself during meditation or before you go to sleep, or you can journal about them as well, all different kinds of things. What small actions honor my acorn? Daily steps like carving out creative time help your blueprint take root. Hillman said, life is about growing down into your inner world. It doesn't mean you withdraw and you stay isolated, but that you look deeper in your inner knowing and who you are as a person. Also ask yourself, who nourishes my acorn? Of course, it's parents, mentors, or peers who believe in your inner light. Those people really matter, your support system. Oftentimes, we don't find that in the work world because we are there to step over each other to get ahead. And oftentimes, things you do in the work world are only valued if they help that particular person. And it can be hard to find support in that space, but you can. Hillman emphasized that the soul needs a counterpart who sees its unique destiny. So, finding people who are on that path along with you is really, really supportive. Of course, another super supportive avenue you can tap into is getting a coach to help you just identify what the questions are that you have and how to take steps to nurturing your inner acorn. It can also be a therapist or a meditation teacher or an acupuncturist or a whole host of professionals that you can engage to help you as well. But make sure you surround yourself with a support system, with people who support what you're trying to do and aren't always poo pooing it or acting like, well, that's silly, you should just be this, or that's dumb. Or if you can't get away from those people because they're in your family or something of that nature, then just try to make sure that you balance that negative voice with a bunch of supporting voices. And ask yourself, how do challenges reflect your acorn? Hardships or frustrations may signal resistance to your core blueprint. Hillman urged us to view such moments as invitations, not detours. So, this is about life lessons, right? Those hardships, those challenges, those disappointments that happen in life are really a moment to reflect, to grow, to go inward, to think about how you really feel about it. How do you really believe? And a lot of these journaling prompts are going to be in my new book, Journaling Through Uncertainty and Change, which I'm not exactly sure what the drop date is, but I'll let you know as soon as I get all those details from the publisher. But challenge and change and uncertainty and frustration are all these beautiful moments for us to grow as people. It doesn't feel like it in the moment. And I don't want to say that just discard your feelings about it. You should never do that. I know many people who have had a hardship and they just close a door on it and never look back. And when they get older in life, they have a lot of closed doors in front of them, a lot of unprocessed stuff that they've never taken the time to really look at and analyze and grow from. Instead, they just shut it away and walked on and pretended it didn't exist. And not only does it keep coming back up, but it stops them from growing. And at some point, everyone's going to have been doing this work and that they're going to be left behind, as it were. Like people are not going to be so interested in what they have to offer because they're not offering anything new. So it's important to process the challenges that happen, to work with them, to feel all the emotions, to go through it at the pace that works for you and work beyond it if you possibly can. But it's also important once you've done that work of sitting with the hardship, it's important to view it as an invitation. What is it trying to tell you? What do you need to learn from it? This is another thing I use in journaling a lot. When I have an issue or a challenge, I ask it, what am I supposed to learn from you? What do I need to know so I can move beyond this? And then I start free flow writing, and often I get an answer that works. So these journaling prompts are all to help you live into your destiny. Your destiny isn't a distant, predestined plan. It is unfolding of your acorn, your soul image. As you grow and choose with intention, if left dormant, your acorn can lead to emptiness and incongruence. But when you nurture it with awareness and small acts, you can step into a life of alignment, depth, and heartfelt purpose. So again, like I said, a lot of people older in life have not, it's almost like they're stubborn. Like if they acknowledge they have a purpose or a path, they either might have to do something different with their life. They might have to admit maybe they made a mistake down the road somewhere and they need to take a detour or a U-turn. Or often it's because I can't admit that I believe in that because that is not a dogma I grew up with or something I've known my whole life. They close the door on it. And when they get older, again, they have a hard time finding friends and having deep conversations with folks because there's some emptiness there. They've never dealt with a lot of that stuff. They've never nurtured their soul. They've never grown. A lot of people will graduate from their last year of school as a child and they don't learn, they think learning's over now. I've graduated, or they graduate from college and learning's over now. And they're not lifelong learners. They just live in the past, and that's great for maybe a decade or two, but sooner or later, you're living in the past and everyone else is living in the now. And everyone else are lifelong learners. They're growing, they're expanding, they're becoming more fulfilled and deeper as people, and they have less to talk to you about because you haven't done the work. You can't converse in certain conversations, and you find yourself unable to communicate in the way that other people want or that other people are mirroring to you. And you just don't have the depth or knowledge. And those people aren't so interested in rehashing the past with you over and over and over again. They're more interested in growth, knowledge, understanding, spirituality, who we are, why we are, where we are, all of these bigger existential questions they're interested in. And they don't necessarily want to talk about something you did when your senior year in high school anymore or often. So, destiny, the bloom of your inner acorn. Carl Jung analyst James Hillman describes destiny as an expression of your unique acorn, a built in pattern waiting to unfold. It's not a fixed fate, but an invitation to nurture your most authentic self. It's about tapping into what makes you unique and what nourishes your sense of destiny. Physiologically and spiritually, destiny often overlaps with fate, yet modern interpretations stress your active role. There's a divine or natural pull, but your actions, values, and awareness shape the path that unfolds. So, this is where you need to become a co creator. You need to put in the effort to unfold what lies beneath your awareness and do that work. You also need to recognize that you have free will. You cannot do anything and nothing will happen. Or you can explore and you can shift if you explore a path that turns out to not be gratifying. You can shift and change. So there's an interplay there. Destiny is a guiding force, shaped but not completely predetermined. That is important to remember because destiny and purpose are these guiding forces in your life. But you shape the reality of it, what it will look like, how you see it, how you can best use it to serve. That is where you co create with your own destiny. Your choices and intuition are part of the discovering. So, choices that you make, things that you do, are part of discovering where your purpose is. It's like the Stoic perspective of destiny is like a current that carries us. Our task is to navigate wisely. So, living your destiny, how do you do that? Listen deeply within through meditation, journaling, self reflection. You sense what energizes, inspires, and calls to you. Now, you have to do truthful self reflection. I don't see a way to get around that. And a lot of people have a hard time with that. For one, they've never been taught that, so they don't know how to do it. Or they do it and they have such negative self talk or a loud inner critic that they shut it off. And it's relearning to come to yourself with kindness when you self reflect, with self kindness, with compassion for yourself, with love for yourself. Because self reflection, you are going to see things you don't really like about yourself. And that's actually great because then you can figure out what you need to change or what you want to change or what you hope to change, and you can work on that. And it's really important. It can also reinforce things that you truly believe in. This can be hard too, because oftentimes we are unsure about how we feel about certain things, right? Like, should I really feel this way? Is this really true? And self reflection allows you to gather up some strength about it or to feel better about it or more secure about something. So there's two sides to that. Look for signs of flow. Open up to synchronicities, inner peace, and unexpected doors opening to align with your gifts. Keep an eye out for that. Those are signs. Those are things that are, if it's easy, follow it. That's exactly what happened with my first book, Reasons to Live. It was a serendipity sort of situation that happened, and it just all came together and it manifested itself in an actual book. Act with intention. Each choice, small or big, is co creating your story. So act with intention. This is your destiny, your purpose, your journey. Give it the attention that it needs. Embrace becoming. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it directs your life and you call it fate. Carl Jung said that, and it's true. Until you really tap into your unconscious, your living person, your persona will direct your life and you will call it fate, meaning you won't have as much control over what happens because you aren't tapping in deeper. Connecting your inner world with your outer life is how you live your destiny. You're not just here to endure life. And I think a lot of people get caught in that. They're just living each day the same, very rote, and going about the same things and not expanding or pushing themselves or going inward or doing any of this work. And they've lost that sense of why they're here. They're just working towards the end. So, what does your destiny in practice look like? This can get really out there, right? Like, what is your destiny? What does it look like in real life? And how can I nurture that? First, look to your gifts and passions. Your acorn already inside you is waiting to unfold, and your gifts and your passions are part of that acorn. Your lifelong journey in journaling, mindfulness, and compassionate service shows your nurturing acorn. Nurture that acorn with these kind of practices: journaling, meditation, mindfulness, compassionate service to yourself and others, self reflection. All of these things help to nurture your acorn. So, that inner work is what I'm talking about here. All those things you do to know yourself better. Each act of writing or kindness or meditation or leadership is not just giving your purpose, it's co creating your destiny. This moment in your life isn't random, it's your current chapter unfolding. Your choices matter. They're the brushstrokes that bring your unfolding destiny to the canvas of life. So, the bottom line: your destiny is not a destination, it's the ongoing conscious cultivation of who you are. It emerges in your inner discoveries that you make, the commitments that you honor, and the heart filled actions you take each day. Destiny is an invitation to become more fully yourself by listening, choosing, and living with intention. A lot of people think that destiny is just going to come knocking at their door and do everything that they want and just help them through this, and they won't have to do anything anymore. But destiny is about action. You can't really live into your life's purpose if you aren't taking the action to do so. And a lot of that is internal work, and a lot of it is also, like, for example, writing a book. You've got to start writing. Got to put yourself out there. You have to develop a pitch. You have to meet other writers. There's things you do for that destiny, and you have to be proactive. So here's the biggest question. I ask myself this a lot whenever I'm at a crossroads. It's really helpful. And it helps me, like I was saying earlier, to not get caught in the fear around something that is like, do I have the money? Do I have the resources? Do I have the time? Can I do it? Am I smart enough? All those questions. So if money, time, and fear were not in the equation, were no object, what would I be doing with my life? This question is amazing whenever you feel lost. I urge you to write it down and keep it somewhere so you can bring it back up for yourself whenever you feel the need. Why does it matter? This was inspired by Joe Campbell's Hero's Journey framework and classic purpose finding exercise. This prompt helps you envision a truer, less constrained version of yourself. It cuts right to the core of what would you be doing if all these other things weren't stopping you. And a lot of times we build up all the stops into really big things we can't get over, like fear. What's your next step? Write freely, write passions, roles, or activities that would dominate your life if you could do anything and none of those things were an object. What does the vision reveal about your deeper calling? Oftentimes, when I'm writing on this question, I'll bring the senses into it. That really helps solidify it to you and make it feel concrete and real and possible. So imagine what it would look like. What would your house look like? What would you look like? What would the people around you look like? Who would the people around you be? What would your day look like? What would it smell like? What would it taste like? What would it feel like? What would the fabrics you're wearing, what you're wearing, what does that feel like? Go through the gamut of imagining it through your senses. It's kind of a fun exercise. Then ask yourself, what do I lose myself in? What activities that soak up my time because I love them so much, or I'm thinking about them all the time? A lot of times we think we don't have activities, especially, say, for example, when I was a young mom, I didn't have a lot of free time to myself. So I didn't think I was doing any of those activities, but I was thinking about them all the time. Like, just imagine on your phone, what pictures are you taking and why? And what do you like about that? And what are, like, I have 100 pictures of cats and dogs, a lot, way more than 100. That's a very big understatement. But I love them. And so for me, putting a little bit of that care and nurture out to my community, as a lot of you know, is fostering pets for the shelters. It's been really rewarding. It's really great. I love them all. And it's a service I can do in living my destiny of just making the world a better place, however possible. Another quality of figuring out what keeps you in a flow state is list 3 to 5 of these flow state things that you do or think about all the time. Then ask, How could I bring more of these into my destiny work, like the fostering of animals, for example? It can be very small things like just being kinder to people, saying hi to more people, opening the door for people, random acts of kindness, all kinds of smaller things you can do to be as part of your destiny work. Your destiny work doesn't have to be this big thing where you become famous and you change the world. Change your neighborhood, the people on your street, the people inside your house. Make life a little better for them. Work on that type of destiny. Another question is, what legacy do you want to leave behind, even in small ways? Now, I say legacy, but I don't really mean that. I use the word legacy because a lot of people can really resonate with that. A lot of people really think about what legacy are they going to leave behind. And I want to tell you that it's more about what good can you leave behind, even in small ways. Like I was saying, the fostering animals, doing this podcast, writing books. There are smaller things that I can do that are part of my purpose. And why it matters, thinking about how you'd like to be remembered helps clarify the values, impact, and relationships that define your meaningful path. And once you start describing what that legacy or that gift that you're leaving behind is, the brainstorm starts happening. What large or small qualities of that align with your daily life and vision? Now, this is kind of the dream big scenario. And that's, I feel, is really important in our lives to be able to dream big. If you could really make an impact in the world, what would it be and how would you do that? And trace it back. Okay, there's these really big things, but also, could I do that inside of my house, the walls of my house? Could I do that in my backyard? Could I do that in the other and really apply that big dream to your life in lots of meaningful ways. So using journal prompts, I really go over this a lot in my new book, but I'll just throw out a few things for you. Pick one and write for that. Take 20 minutes without judgment. No editing, just write. Sometimes you use the wrong word or the word you didn't hear, you misspelled something really politely in a different way. So I encourage you to not edit. Just free flow write for 20 minutes and see what comes up for the show. Reflect on the patterns you learn as you're doing your writing. This will happen over time, or maybe even in the same prompt. Sometimes that happens. But what are the threads that continually seem to be there throughout your writing? And that will often point you to what you need to work on or where your destiny lies. And that brings me to journaling regularly. Just try to work it into your routines of daily practice, or at least 5 days a week or weekly. However, if it works for you and your schedule, just carving out some time to regularly journal will give you a sense of clarity and direction. And pair journal writing with mindfulness. Take a few deep breaths before writing to access your deeper inner wisdom. Some people do a lot of different kind of rituals. They can be very easy, like taking a few deep breaths, lighting a candle. A lot of people use certain pens or journals. There's a big ritual around it. And that just, in taking a moment to do this ritual, it shifts you from where you were in that day-to-day world, gives you a pause to then sink deeper as you write, which is really beautiful. And it's honoring to what you're actually doing because you're doing very important work. Exploring what you long to do and where you naturally thrive and how you want to be remembered. These prompts are designed to illuminate the path of your personal destiny with insights as your guiding compass. What is your destiny? How did you know? Why was it important? Let me know. Let us know. This is a community here. And if we each help each other out by offering ideas, things that worked, things that didn't work, roadblocks, obstacles, frustrations, joys, all those things help us all feel that we're not alone. And I care about you as a community, and it's so helpful when you help other people out. And that can be part of your destiny, right? If this podcast resonated with you or you think someone might benefit from it, please share it. Please like and subscribe and let me know what you'd like to hear about. Many of the topics that I talk about on this podcast come from listeners, so let me know. You can reach me. There'll be a link in the description, and you can get on my newsletter and drop me a note if you like. You can order my book, Reasons to Live. I will link it in the description. And if you would be so kind as to leave a positive review for it, I would be eternally grateful. That really helps the algorithm to get that book out to people who need it. That's really the goal here, is that book is really important for folks who need it. And if reviews help put it in front of people, then yay, that's great. So until next time, my friends, know that I love you and I support you and I care about you.